Alright, so this is Abdon Burf in Shropshire, a mile at 11%, but it features a ridiculous ramp of a wall at just over 20%. So this will be a good video if you want to see me panic up a questionably surfaced road at 2 miles an hour for a few minutes, but luckily there's some stunning views at the summit to redeem that. So this road is actually inaccessible to cars as there's a locked gate at the bottom. And when I rolled up to it, I was really hoping that I was mistaken and had taken the wrong turn because it totally did not look like a rideable road. Because I'm an idiot, I was about to start launching my bike over this gate until I realised there was a side entrance for hikers. Top tip there, always survey your surroundings before doing something that could result in injury. And I started riding up to assess whether it was really a good idea to attempt it. I came to the conclusion that it wasn't, and it looked really atrocious, but obviously I had to try it anyway. My main concern was lack of traction on the severe gradients of this bottom section. I was hoping that once I left the tree cover behind, the road conditions would improve, so I just clipped in and hoped for the best. It's a bit weird because you think you'd want to be pedaling as hard as possible to get the momentum going, but in reality you have to ease off a bit to try and channel the smoothest pedaling motion as possible. It's funny how any concerns about how your legs are feeling goes out the window when confronted with the horrors of a road like this. And the physical exertion side of things was very much secondary, as all my focus was going towards trying to stay upright. So I guess in some ways that was kind of nice. Don't feel the pain. Or maybe that's just me, and I'm too easily freaked out by a bit of wheel spin. And the problem is once you commit, you kind of have to just keep going because trying to put your foot down on such a sloppy and steep surface, that in itself is a bit sketchy because your bike just starts rolling backwards. And of course trying to get going again would be out of the question. So this is quite terrifying. The saving grace is that it's a dead straight road, although it is really narrow and at such a low speed, every leaf poses the real threat of major wheel slippage. The lack of cars is lovely too, you can use the whole width of the road. But yeah, it was pretty scary to be honest. I'm not sure what it's like at other times of the year. This was October, so autumn is probably not the optimal time to tackle it. The lack of vehicular access means it's not really maintained. I'm sure it's never in great nick any time of year, but could have done without these branches lying across the road. I love this kind of gradient and would find it really fun if it was a less slippy road. You can see how absurdly straight the road is, and I suppose it could be quite demoralising. But I spent most of my time just staring at my front wheel rather than looking up ahead, so I didn't really mind that. Yeah, I guess it'd be the perfect Everesting hill if it was entirely repaved and the road was doubled in width and someone added some nice wide laybys to use as a turnaround, and maybe if it was doubled in length. But yeah, apart from that, pretty perfect. I started to really enjoy this section once the road started clearing. Still very slippery and definitely wasn't about to risk standing up, but it was somewhat luxurious compared to the previous section. My initial plan was to do a few reps of the climb in its entirety, but there was no way I wanted to negotiate that bottom section again, so I ended up just going up and down this random upper section a few times. It was actually really difficult to get going again on such a steep gradient while trying to clip in, so I had to take a bit of an off-road approach. Another good reason there weren't any cars is that I predominantly seem to be riding on the right hand side of the road. This was my birthday treat and my dad drove me there. I was hiking up from the bottom. There's various trails and gravel tracks around here. The hill is actually called Brown-Clee Hill, and Abdon Burf is the highest point on it. It levels out a bit before this castle grid. From here the hard part of the climb is done. You can start to enjoy it a bit more. I think the remaining climb averages about 6%, but it pitches up and down. And the scenery really opens up and you just get a stunning panoramic view. Here's some footage from the top section of the descent to show the kind of views you'll enjoy. Usually this would still be considered a pretty tough gradient, but it felt like a nice bit of respite compared to the previous section. Simon Warren actually gave this climb an 11 out of 10 difficulty rating. I actually didn't find the steepness anything too crazy in comparison to some of the lesser ranked climbs, mainly throughout Wales, but that might have just been my experience on the day, given I was distracted by other factors. Nice bench there if you need a breather, and at least the verges are nice and grassy to provide a soft landing. There's also the remains of an Iron Age hill fort. This top section's a bit messy. There's some aptly titled Strava segments. I was pretty thrilled to get the local legend of this one. So it's the highest point in Shropshire, and there's a trig pillar and 2 radio masts at the summit. My dad made it up to the summit not long after I did, which was nicely timed. And you can walk up to a little toposcope which points out local landmarks. My camera actually captured this, which I didn't realise. Somehow, despite there being absolutely no one around, I was still paranoid about my bike being whisked away. It was super chilly on this day, but I imagine on a warm day it'd be pretty spectacular to just hang around here for a while. It was followed by the slowest descent ever, and I did walk down the bottom section because I was not about to go head over handlebars. So that was Abdon Burf. I probably made it more dramatic than it actually is, but that feeling of wheel slippage really strikes a fear in my heart like little else. So I was really quite glad to weave my way through that and make it to the summit. Absolutely atrocious, but thoroughly enjoyed. 10 out of 10, or 11 out of 10, recommend.